Hello, everyone. Hello, dear friends. Thank you to all of the guests and the speakers. We are going to discuss a very big, a very broad topic, yet we do not have much time, so let's start with the first question straight away. So my first question is, Alexey, what is GenAI for you, for your company today? What are the benefits? What is working? What is not working? So the floor is yours. Well, we need to separate business from personal. Personally, I think everyone is using AI, and I myself, as a head of a tech block, I am obviously using it to set an example. This is this rare case where an IT director can once again revert back to being a developer. I have a few projects of my own that I have developed for Cursor, in Cursor, and this is a great step forward, meaning that not only an IT guy, not only an IT specialist can do things like that. Inside the organization, I would again divide it into the IT and non-IT functionality. With IT, the benefits are clear, AI as a co-pilot, and I think many have been making great progress in that. In terms of development cycles, we have significantly reduced the costs of business analytics and test scenarios. Everything related to test-driven development has become way easier to implement, has been streamlined significantly, which means a great improvement of the product. And also there is a transformational goal for any business. Any business has its own specific features, has its own context, and you need to understand where you can use which tools. Not all business cases are successful, so you need to approach the transformation program very carefully. We have this big transformation program where we combine a set of technologies, capabilities. We have partner companies that help us implement our projects, and we combine that with the business needs. So at the cross-section of the needs and goals and technologies, that's where we get the results. So that's the gist of it. Thank you, Daniil. I know that Moscow Exchange is aiming at becoming AI native or AI driven. Tell me which term is correct. At which stage are you currently? Yes, thank you for giving me the floor. I think AI native would be the correct term to use. I would like to take a step back a little bit. I think most of you here have at least once played video games. I think what's happening today in the world is something somewhat akin to terra incognita in a video game. The map in a video game that is not available to you just yet. So the world is striving to open up different sections of that map to see where the opportunities lie, meaning both ordinary users and businesses. What we're doing now is de facto, we are trying to uncover this hidden area, this terra incognita, and we are transitioning from proof of concept, because this is just a technical check, technical validation, which often has nothing to do with the business. We transition from that to proof of value. Every step we take needs to have value for business. Each incoming technology, including GenAI, means people still try to apply these old categories, these old approaches to it, which do not fit. So we have launched what we call a flywheel of GenAI transformation. The first thing we did was we gave access to as many people as possible within the company to high-quality AI products, because we wanted to change people's mindset. That's absolutely vital. When you're using something, it's useful, it's interesting, it gives you real value. You start to adopt different approaches, different categories in your own domain. The next step is AI native ideas generated by our employees. Next, they go to the product development backlogs, initiatives, backlogs. And so I think each company now needs to launch this, to make this happen. it is impossible to just act as a small group and redesign the entire company for this brave new world, so to speak. So this is the stage we're at. And another interesting thing I wanted to mention, the coding changes. Early this year, we made this hard decision inside our team to abandon completely manual coding in favor of automated coding, and we reduced time to market by 12 times. 12-fold reduction of time to market. So we redesigned the entire team, and this is something we're counting on very heavily. As for the effects, I think we can get back to that after the other speakers. Thank you. Adel, what about you? I know that in addition to your other tasks, you are a head of the AI Center at Gazprombank. So what is working for you, what is not?
Thank you, Sergey. Hi, everyone. I think it's important to say at the start that banks and financial sector are the main beneficiaries from the implementation, because these organizations were able to relay the integrations into a financial efficiency. So now banks are actively implementing AI and rolling out these technologies in the processes. But if you talk about GenAI, I think in our bank we have realized that this is such a transformative, disruptive technologies that this is a separate section as part of the strategy. We had 6 sections and areas, streams of the strategy, and we decided to make a dedicated 7th block. So how did we decide to work on AI? We thought about 2 areas. First, assistance, and there are 2 types of the assistance. First is the kind of a general purpose assistant for all employees. It's going to be a kind of a personal assistant for the employees that can be used by all employees in the phone, with the phone. Co-pilots as well are using AI. It helps to write code more efficiently and quickly. That means shorter time to market. Then we're talking about specialized text assistants, and for those who work with the reports. So this is a set of specialized assistants. The second vector, RAG tasks, where you need to use your internal knowledge base to find answers. When you have an LLM, which is a kind of a brain, and you are fine-tuning it using your internal documents, and when employees start to work in your company, they don't need months of training to navigate through the internal documents, because they can use AI to find the answer. And agentic system is when the full-fledged AI models started to be implemented in various processes and start to deliver turnkey solutions. And this is a kind of a digital employee that you have, and how do you manage these employees, these digital employees? How do you orchestrate them to make sure that you not compete with each other and they work together? So yeah, these are the things you have to work on, and this is how we see AI in our company, GenAI in our company. And when we deliver some projects with some language models like that, and today Mr. Graf talked about that in his introductory presentation, that you need to create a foundational model and do not make this diverse set of models, because if you create a lot of copies of the various models, it will be very hard for you to manage them all. So you have to select one fundamental model to make sure that it then can be used in various business processes. Thank you, Maxim. You have a more system-wide role. You're somewhere between the regulator and the banks. What do you see on the system-wide level as an industry? How do you organize everything? Like, what are the things you do in GenAI? Well, thank you for the question. And one of our topics is some words in our topic is disrupt and local effects. I will play the bad guy, the skeptic. Many questions, many concerns. I think that GenAI emergence helped us to address the potential winter, AI winter. that started to emerge at the start of 2020. And GenAI helped us to kind of warm up the interest. Maybe it's a hype, but some of these hype stories, they usually prolong the agony, but then the winter becomes even colder. And that is a concern because many analysts are now noting their concern and saying that there are potential bubbles and overheating of the market. And statistics and analytics concerns me as well. MIT recently published a review, a research. They said that only 5% of AI pilots of implementing AI. First of all, we're talking about GenAI, of course. Only 5% give some real effect and give some real results. The effects, the assessments are different. Some say that every fifth project is successful. For the financial sector, maybe that's why we are optimistic. The figure is around 43% of the projects that are AI-driven, that are put on AI, are successful. So this is something to consider. Another thing that would be great to discuss with the participants today here, we are collaborating in a very efficient manner, and the leaders of Sber, they help a lot because they share their experience. And an important thing is the coverage of the financial organization's function is very fragmented. You understand how to apply GenAI in the communication channels, working with customers like chats, assistants, and other things. You understand how to use the GenAI with the personalization, but there are core processes as well. By the way, the supporting processes can be AI-friendly. Here we're talking about the document organization and augmentation of the developers, but there are some core processes where there are not that many ideas, and for us it's a major challenge right now to find ideas, to find some product cases where we could use AI in a more wide manner. And the maturity of our technology landscapes is one of the major concerns here, because without a properly prepared technical landscape, it's very hard to integrate GenAI properly. What leaders are doing, they create the platforms, the orchestration of GenAI, they integrate them with their own tech platforms, and the higher the maturity level of this platform, the more chances there are for success. There is another question, another issue of regulation that maybe we shouldn't talk about that right now, because it's very important not to stifle this little bird of the AI development in the iron hands of the regulator. Yeah, well, our bad cop finished his speech during our panel session. Sorry, we're going to give you that name because you are playing this role. But so yeah, the question is about automation and making sure that how do we move from the automation and from some hype, from some hype to some real applications. So what are the barriers and what are the opportunities? Obviously you can say that glass is half full or half empty, whatever. Maksim is an optimist, and the glass is half full for him. So my first question to Alexey and Daniil. Both of you, it's very important to have some personal experience, and Alexey just had that. Your personal experience, the personal experience of the leaders in the transformation, how important is it? What is the role of the people in this transformation? I think in any transformation, the role of the people is the key. Maksim is the bad cop today. I and Daniil will be good cops, I guess. We're good cops in the terms of the fact that we understand that it's not the technologies that are key to success. Technologies are more or less the same, but it's most important to understand how to properly use them, how to be reasonable in using them. Some in fintechs and in banks, why everything is better in terms of GenAI applications, because we understand how to experiment properly, and we have been doing that for quite a while. Now, you asked What is the key point in success? Yes, the leadership engagement and involvement is very important, and I think I would add to this AI native idea of Daniil, AI first. You, as a leader, are trying to understand how to resolve your task with AI in personal life, as well as at work. And some family things can be worked out with AI. Everything is digitized. By the way, a simple life hack: you can put all your chats in Telegram. You can just download all your chats in Telegram in JSON. You can prompt the role of the AI machine that, okay, you are a psychologist, a therapist, and please analyze my chats. And they actually give you that information. So you start to regard AI as an assistant. So it's important to have that change of the mindset, and not to say, okay, IT guys have to do something. IT guys can do anything. As an IT director with some background, I can tell you that's absolutely so. But there has to be some sense to that. So you ask, on the one hand, what is the key to success? On the other hand, you ask, what are the blocking factors? The blocking factors is the lack of that commitment and lack of this understanding. It's one of the components, and because without that involvement, without that understanding how it works, so you cannot expect a transformation just to happen at the background. Everyone has been participating in digital transformation. I mean, you have to do it. There's no choice to do that. But the leader of the company have to be committed, have to be engaged. Even a small working group will not move forward without the engagement of the employee. I had a team where co-pilots had a real success, and there are other teams where people got some bad co-pilot using the same stack and they didn't like it at all. And here it's very important to look into details and to be committed and involved. And so yeah, you have to be committed, and you cannot just say, yeah, just implement it just for the sake of implementation. Daniil, any details to add? I think nothing beats the practice, hands-on education, hands-on training. You cannot start thinking in AI first with AI first mentality without working, without doing AI with your hands, using it in your real life. Now, we used to live in this so-called real sector of the economy, the manufacturing of commodities and some technology things. And Toyota came up with a lean production and other things that were really cool. Now, the essence is that they looked at the sequence of the operations, and with a stopwatch, they tried to understand how much time it takes, can you optimize the time? Something that is happening with GenAI. Modality might not be the proper word, but now within the modality of the corporate activity, we can do the same thing as Toyota did. But I mean, a financial organization is a company. As any company, it's a business. To optimize that, you have to have a critical thinking on the one hand. You have to understand how it works, what are the limitations of the models and the related technologies on the other hand, to make sure that you can properly range the knowledge, the cycles of processing of information to ensure that in the end you have some proper business value. I think that in the end we face, and everyone else faces, is that people with IT background and IT mentality try to simplify everything and try to put the patterns of thinking to the existing experience, but it does not work at all. When you do something not based on the technical scope, or when you have like 2 months for the development and there are some points you have to do to deliver. And here we are in the production process and in the discovery process, in the discovery stage. So you have to change the tires really quickly when you understand that you can do something better. and something that GenAI delivers in coding. We talk a lot about coding, but basically we're talking about the speeding up of change of the process of changing the hypothesis, and it gives us a lot of time-saving opportunities. And that means it delivers the value when we decrease the time of validating the hypothesis. And leaders and heads of companies, heads of functions, they have to understand how all of that can help. And what Alexey told was something that I do resonate with. How can I do everything with AI first mentality? Sometimes it's a painful thing to do, but can help to change the mentality. I would like to build on that. Another life hack: if you use AI to resolve your current tasks in their current way, it's not like using the microscope to drive in the nails, but it's like you have to change the way you work. What else can you think of? And sometimes it's hard to understand how to do it differently. And sometimes you can actually prompt AI to suggest some of the new ways of thinking. So you might think, how can you reformulate the task? You can ask a question for deeper goals, and it motivates you to think. And actually, the way that we go through in the real life in business planning, we learn how to better crystallize the tasks and the goals and how to do it differently. And long before these co-pilots, long before the projects that we started to pilot, you should analyze the idea in depth with AI long before you do the co-pilots. And there is the analysis of the research, analysis of the planning, and the agent development analysis. All of these things are very important. You have to look into that. And here, limitless opportunities at a very low price. That's with AI. So yeah, first of all, you kind of plan for the war, for the battle, and then you actually go to the battle. A small comment here. Oh, wow, really, I forgot what I wanted to say. I think that's how AI influences us, you start forgetting things. Yeah, an important thing is that AI helps to generate ideas, yet without the firstly understanding the ideas, AI will not help you, it will not work. If you do not have a clear idea on the result and on the value, then you will have the same vague answer from the AI. So that's the key value. And one of the key values, I think, is the skill of having a very focused attention to make sure that nothing can distract you from this idea. I think it's a very complicated, I think it's a very important skill. Yeah, sorry, I'll jump in as well. So we do not think how to sell it all. That's a typical product problem. When you dive deep in what Daniil was talking about, this problem will be resolved. Okay, I think Maksim and Adel should have an opportunity to jump in our discussion. In your introductory remarks, you were talking about the organization, about the system-wide approach and platform-wide approach. Let's talk about that a little bit more in detail. Where is this, turnkey that will help you take advantage of the transformation benefits? Maxim? I think I will respond to the previous messages. I'll just take a couple of minutes. When we talk about AI, there's a lot of uncertainty in these projects. That means that when we develop a traditional IT task, like we develop an information system, we understand where we start from, and we understand the deliverables, and we understand the steps that are needed to be taken. For example, you drive your car using the navigator to some new location. You understand the route, you understand all the things you have to do, but the location is new. But what does it mean to deliver AI project? it's high uncertainty. You do not always know what will be your arrival point. And at every step of the way, you face major risks. And when you start working with data, you understand, okay, the data are not very of highest quality. They're not very clean. So you have to go back to the business process and try to make sure that the data are clean. And there are many other barriers in AI projects. There are many hidden things and risks that you have to mitigate. And if you compare it with the car driving experience, a developing AI project is when you have a torch and you go through a dark forest trying to understand what way to go to get out of the forest, of this black forest. And the torch is, does not really give you the very lengthy light wave. So, and there are many dangers around in this dark forest. So you have, as you deliver these projects, you have to be stress resilient. It's like being in the forest. You need to try to calm down your stress and think to be able to get out. So that's about the projects. Sorry, I forgot the question. Yeah, I mean, building this kind of end-to-end system is very important. What are the key challenges? What are the key opportunities as part of the system-wide organization? I think now when technologies, including the language model technologies, have become more available, so every employee can deploy them on a home computer and they can put some prototype. That's another challenge for an organization because there are many ideas and prototypes that you want to implement as quickly as possible.
But I think it is important to understand that in an organization, from these local prototypes, you need to transition to large-scale implementations in business. I'll try to elaborate on this. You are not launching this local fireworks, but you are creating an air trafficking center to enable all employees to gain access to this solution. One department, one unit develops a prototype. Just imagine how difficult it would be to transfer it to another unit. Speaking of a bank, each unit has its own access rights, its own security regulations. So you need to understand at the very initial stage what the platform will look like. Meaning you need to understand that each unit has its own security restrictions, its own rules, and you need to enable the access of all of them to this solution. So the goal is to transition from local victories to a uniform approach to managing these solutions. Maksim, can you continue with the platforms what you touched upon in your opening remarks? I am speaking last, and I've heard so many interesting ideas from the speakers before me. And so this makes me, this encourages me to divert from a direct answer to the question. First, Alexey said a very important thing. I think it bears repeating. It needs to be kept in mind in order to be efficient and effective in applying AI in your business processes broadly and deeply. These business processes need to be redesigned, reimagined. This is a blockchain and AI conference, and this brings me to this case of distributed registers. A few years ago, everyone rushed to start implementing this technology. They were migrating to that technology with their business processes, with their existing products, and it turned out to be a mess. I had a smart guy tell me at this point that if you redesign them, because our legacy processes were built given the existing current regulations and restrictions. So if you redesign them, if you reimagine them, if you remove those barriers with the target processes and products, it turns out to be much better. I think same goes for AI. All our business processes, all our operational processes at this point are built, and we have been building them always, based on the premise that we have a human involved in them. So removing human from the equation allows for way better optimization of the process. And this also enables us to use AI much more efficiently. the successful use cases that I've seen for AI were all related to redesigned business processes. Another idea that Adel mentioned about the determination, or rather the non-determination, but I think he was talking about the global non-determination of projects involving AI. I see here another big problem that we really need to think about. We just recently had this wonderful AI Journey conference where we also talked about multi-agent systems. What is a multi-agent system? It is a set of agents that communicate with each other, that cooperate with each other, that orchestrate, plan, and validate the result of each other. But what is the advantage of this technology? We are working with determined objects in our technological landscape, meaning software systems coded by programmers. We have control mechanisms for the outcomes of these systems. And we understand how to test them. But in the near future, and leaders are doing it already, we will have agents interacting, agents based on models, entities based on models, where you will not be able to determine the results. We all know how to work with GPT or another similar model, and you know how easy it is to predetermine the result. The solution to this problem exists, and this makes me think positively about the financial industry. I am talking about systemic mechanisms, the platforms that Sergey asked about. Platforms in the core technology landscape, platforms that have clear-cut characteristics. They are based on APIs, so you can call them using understandable formalized APIs. They have good, clear, controlled, manageable data processed on these platforms. And a platform for AI orchestration that has such features as behavior control. Something that we already know how to do with the classic systems. We didn't learn straight away. It took us some time. That happened about 20 years ago when we were transitioning to large-scale, enterprise-scale application of this technology. So at this new stage of technology development, this is something that we will need to do now. So technologically speaking, we have the answers, we have the tools, and the path forward is pretty clear. It's going to be challenging, but it's pretty clear. Thank you, colleagues. We talked about it from the perspective of people and technology, and I think some common thread is we talked about the non-determination and the switching between different hats. I think what we meant was the same thing. As a mathematician myself, I think it is important to understand not just what things are, but what things are not. Maksim, let's start with you first. What about the next 6 months or 18 months? What are the things that you would never entrust to AI? Well, that's a really difficult question. It's quite a challenging one. What I would not allow AI to take over. In terms of business, I think the first thing that comes to mind is the financial sector, and here I do not see any particular limitations. I see challenges in interaction with a human being, with issues or use cases related to AI and psychology. These are use cases where we start considering AI as a proper human-like counterpart. And we've heard of such use cases. For example, there's been this case where people blamed AI for enticing someone to commit suicide, a teenager. So when it comes to interaction with young people, especially young people, this is where we will need to be very, very careful. As for business-related cases, I don't see particular problems there. I only see this need to build guardrails. For example, various adversarial architectures in order to control the outcome better. Usually when we build an advanced multi-agent architecture, this is something that we cannot do without. This is included by default. And another thing I wanted to mention, something we need to be attentive about, the designing of efficient models as a co-pilot for a human being. I think this will relieve us from a lot of our phobias. This all harkens back to these concerns about AI replacing people and taking away their jobs. This scenario of human plus AI can be manifold. Cases where, for example, a human being checks what AI has done or the other way around. There are hypotheses, ideas that are selected and then tested together. This holds a lot of promise. And coming up with these effective patterns, effective use cases of AI plus human is something that will give a big competitive edge. I think you can remove your hat of a bad cop and become an AI optimist. Adel, are you as optimistic? I don't want to talk about ethics, areas where we need to limit AI or LLMs. Speaking of business specifically, what we see at our bank is when we use LLMs, the first thing that comes to mind is text data, where you need to do an expert assessment of a document, for example. So what we see is we have a number of bullet points in this expert assessment. Out of 30 bullet points in the assessment, 10 are associated with high quality answers, expert level quality. And then there are other points, other cases where the LLM does not answer to our satisfaction. So we cannot just take a process, embed an LLM and remove a human being from the process because the quality will drop. Speaking of where we are, with LLMs, there are experts, there are specialists, then there are beginners. An LLM is probably better than a total beginner, a total newcomer in a specific domain, but it is still worse than an expert. It is catching up, but it's still worse. I think the challenge is to find these areas in your business process where you can do some optimization thanks to an LLM. For example, free up some time for an employee with tasks where an LLM can be helpful, can be of good enough quality. For now, I do not see this particular domain, this single area where you can simply implement an LLM and maintain the quality level of human experts. Thank you, Daniil. I think there are two things that I wouldn't entrust an AI with. First, managing critical processes that are currently managed by determined systems or people. There are different versions of this. Following up what Adel said, we have cases where issuers want to issue bonds and we need to scan and analyze a huge document, 300 pages or so, and we need to check it for compliance and for other aspects of compliance with regulations and internal regulations as well. We can, of course, involve AI in this, but we cannot just let AI take over it entirely, because if something is wrong with the prospect, the bond will result in some negative experience. People will see that there is a stamp of approval of Moscow Exchange. This will all have a continuation in the regulatory context, and at the end of the day, people will be held accountable. So anything related to financial operations, going back to manufacturing operations, this is not something that we can just give to AI entirely. And the other thing is goal setting. You cannot entrust AI with this fully, because if you do not manage the goal setting, you do not manage the outcome. I completely agree with the goal setting. This is something that we need to do ourselves, and we can use AI simply as a tool. It is very important to understand that AI is just an assistant. If you want to analyze data, you need to keep in mind that it has its own perspective. A simple example, have you ever tried uploading your medical data on ChatGPT? Don't be shy, raise your hands. So you can upload this data, and it gives you great analytics on trends, that sort of thing, but it doesn't give you high quality recommendations. It can say, well, you are this vitamin deficient, well, just eat more vitamins. But the problem is that you do not have enough enzymes, which means the vitamins, even if you consume them excessively, will not work. So it just doesn't understand these internal processes, this internal mechanics, and you should not count on AI in understanding it. A very good example Daniil mentioned about the issuance prospect. As a board member, I understand that there is accountability and you cannot hold AI accountable. AI can highlight certain things after your check, after your validation. It can draw your attention to certain aspects. It can improve the quality of your work, but it's not something that you can delegate fully to the AI and expect it to be held accountable for it, because the one who will be held accountable is you. And also, it was rightly mentioned that people, young people as well, but people of all ages, tend to think that AI can be empathetic. It cannot. It does not have empathy. Does it want you to like it? Yes, it does. But you shouldn't have any illusions about it being your friend. It's just an assistant. It's just a mechanism that doesn't care about us. We need to understand it, and we need to use it appropriately. I've seen, unfortunately, these use cases where people start to treat AI not just as a friend, but as this assistant that can really give you life advice, something that you can implement in your real life. That's not something you should do with this. Even searching in a browser is starting to get delegated to AI. So to a larger and larger extent, it will be guiding you in different aspects. You remember there's been this movie with Adam Sandler about having this magic remote control that you can use to control your life. So AI is just something that is there to help you. It's just your assistant. The one who controls your life is you. We are nearing the end of our session, so a very brief question for a very brief answer. We've talked about the good things today. Let's talk about the future. 2 years from now, GenAI in your business, what will it look like? Let's transition from family matters to business. So GenAI, is that something that will have a transformative effect for the entire business, or will it have localized effect rather? Anyone? I can say, brief introduction, stock exchange business, how it all began and how it changed. In the 20s, in the US, the first stock exchanges appeared for broad public. That was basically the Wild West. Those who were the first to learn how to do this were reaping all the rewards. Then SEC, the beginning of regulation. Can you please speed up because this will take a long time? Right, so it was a long process. Sorry. It was a long process. Markets were becoming more and more efficient. Next, derivatives emerged. The first people to come into this reaped all the rewards, and then market was becoming more and more efficient. People were starting to hedge. Then the cable between New York and Chicago. The evolution of trading. A new technology appeared. People gained alpha returns, and then they once again came to constraints of this technology. And now we're once again saying that AI cannot trade, cannot give recommendations. We should not believe that it will not be used for the evolution of the industry, same as the technology before it. Thank you, colleagues. Other opinions? I think it will be a disrupt for sure. We're discussing the transition from local victories to large-scale changes, and it's important to understand that the transformational changes that we will see 2 years from now will all belong to companies, will be in the company's hands, and if you start thinking about it now, without waiting, democratize the technology, make it available to all employees in the company based on platforms within the organization, then definitely the organization will become more efficient. Speaking of banks, the financial sector, with its huge amount of processes and points where such solutions can be embedded. And based on these local changes, you can improve the overall productivity of the organization.
Okay, Maxim, we'll wrap it up, I think. Alexey? Gentlemen, the floor is yours. I think it's a transformation story. As digital transformation and any other previous transformations, it will become a commodity. It will be part of our life. You're talking about 2 years. I think in terms of businesses, it will be longer than that. As for the technology, everything has already happened. I mean, now we're just going to get the low-hanging fruits and just do it. It will be everywhere, ubiquitous in all of our life matters. Will it be different? Yes, it will be more convenient and it will be better. I believe in the positive scenarios, and as many futurologists think the same, actually, and I agree with them. So, but you are responsible for yourself. I think that in 2 years there will be a good divide. A divide will be very much visible between the leaders of the disruption activities, and those who will be lagging behind and those trying to catch up. Thank you very much, friends. Our time is up. Let's thank our great speakers for a lively discussion. I hope it was instructive. Thank you so much. I will take off the hat of the moderator and will join the panel discussion. I'm very optimistic. I think in 2 years we will see GenAI being used in a totally different manner in the businesses. Thank you very much.